Good evening, good evening, good evening, good evening, and welcome to Mz Optimizm Speaks. I am your girl, LaShawn R. Shelton, also known as Mz Optimism, and I am here tonight because we are talking about the 10 days of Christmas, not the 12 days, but the 10 days. And the 10 days of Christmas, we are going to discuss Prerequisite to Adulting 101 and why you need this book in your hands. Like, you totally need this book in your hands. So, just a backdrop about the book. Prerequisite to Adulting is a blueprint. And I need my book in as many students' hands as possible. As a matter of fact, immediately, if not sooner. And let me tell you why. I literally went to Chipotle today with my little girl because her kitten passed away this morning. And we're going to talk about disappointment on this show. So I'm kind of glad that this book is ready, for her to read, because our babies, when they go through disappointment, most of them have no idea how to handle it, what to do, how to feel, and things of that nature. So I digress. So what happened was, I'm in Chipotle. And while I'm at Chipotle, I ordered, I forgot what I ordered. I ordered something. But whatever it was that I ordered, it was supposed to be, I was supposed to have a change of, I think, $6.15. So as I looked at the cashier, she looked at me, I looked at her, she looked at me, I looked at her, and I'm like, where's my change? So she calls a manager over, and in her calling the manager over, she says, I don't know how much money to give her back because the change machine does not work. I said, are you kidding me? Like, this girl told me that she graduated from high school, that she was on her way to college, and had no idea how to give me change back. So he said, well, how much did her food come up to? And she said her food came up to $13.85. He said, and what did she give you? And she said, a 20. He said, well, then hold on. So then he pulls out a calculator. So now I'm sitting there confused, like, wait a minute. You both are pulling out calculators. You both have no idea how much to give me back in change. And this is a sad state that we're in when we have students not able to do mental math. It just blew my mind. I could not believe it, for the love of anything good and holy. So I need this book in as many young people's hands as humanly possible, because it talks about things that they need to know as they grow and become young adults and becoming adults. Shout out to Dejanay and these creations, because she created this mug for me, and I'm so excited about this mug. Guys, if you can't see it, it's beautiful. So anyway, as I told my daughter, I said, baby, this young lady had no idea how much change to give me back. She said, well, what did you give her? And I said, a 20. She said, how much did it cost? I said, $13.15. So she said, she owes you $6.85. I said, exactly. She said, well, why didn't she know that? I don't know. Guys, get your hands on this book. This book needs to be in at least 5 scholars in your life in their hands. Meaning, you should be able to bless at least 5 students with this book. At minimum, 5 students with this book. At bare minimum. As a matter of fact, you should be able to grab a couple of students that are in your neighborhood, grab a couple of students that are at your church, in your school, that you mentor, whomever. But they need to have this book in their hand. Okay? I cannot understand why these babies are going through it. So during the 10 days of Christmas, I'm going to read excerpts out of 10 different chapters from this book. And today's chapter, we're going to talk about handling heartbreak. And it's actually very fitting because, like I said, my daughter's kitten passed away today. So apparently the kitten got into chocolate ice cream. My daughter fell asleep while eating chocolate ice cream. It was in a bowl. And apparently what was left in the bowl had to have been a lot. And the cat ate all of the chocolate ice cream. The kitten, I mean. And she is no longer with us. And it broke my daughter's heart in a million pieces. I found out while we were in church because my middle son, he wasn't feeling well. And he was like, Mom, I absolutely positively cannot make it to church. I do not feel well. And usually I'm a stickler for saying, no, you're taking your butt to church. But I said, you know what? If you're not feeling well, stay home. So in him staying home, he went downstairs to get something to drink and found the kitten. The kitten was gone. And he was heartbroken as well. So I'm glad that this book is available because even my babies go through things. You know, my kids aren't perfect. So I'm going to read a little bit of this. And look, the first thing is loss of a pet. Loss of a pet. So it says, let's face it. We all have endured some form of heartbreak, loss, or disappointment in life. I am almost 100% sure that every person reading this chapter has lost a pet, a family member, a friendship, a position, or a relationship. The only thing that's constant in life is change. And in order to grow, sometimes people and or things may be removed from our lives, whether it's voluntarily or involuntarily. Let's break down the types of heartbreaks and share how you and your personal feelings of loss, disappointment, or pain can be resolved. No two answers will be alike, and as you grow, your answers will too. So I say that because when I was younger, the disappointments that I felt when I had to give Misty away, Misty was my cat. My brother was deathly allergic to cats. And we found out the hard way, right? When he ended up in the hospital. And my mom said, listen, you can't keep this cat. And I'm like, well, how come? And she said, because your brother's allergic to it. And I said, well, can we trade my brother in instead? And they thought it was funny, but I was dead serious. I was not trying to lose my kitten because this dude was allergic to cats. That was my first bout of heartbreak. And then my biological father passing. And then, I had my granny pass away. And I had a few friends in high school pass away. So I've dealt with grief, in an extended sense. So in this chapter, we talk about loss of a friendship, death of a family member or friend, when a friend moves, because we've all been through that, and also how to handle when a friend or family member no longer wants to talk to you. That's in here also. So I'm going to read the part about losing a pet because that actually is fitting for what happened. So it says, I remember when my daughter's goldfish, Pinky Poo. I think I've talked about, just hold on for 1 second with the book. I think I've talked about Pinky Poo a lot on my scopes, right? I'm always talking about Pinky Poo. Pinky Poo was the pink goldfish that we had for my daughter. And in us having Pinky Poo passed away. So we ran to about 15 different pet stores and Walmarts until we found a reasonable facsimile of Pinky Poo, right? So in us finding a reasonable facsimile of Pinky Poo, right, we drove each other crazy, plopped the fish in the water, right? And in us plopping the fish in the water, we thought we were good, right? We thought that we got away with murder until my daughter says, Mommy, that's not Pinky Poo. Daddy, that looks different than Pinky Poo. So we looked at each other and said, there's no way that she could tell whether or not this is really Pinky Poo or not. And the long and short was that fish died too. So we had to have a funeral. But I digress. So it says, I remember when my daughter's goldfish, Pinky Poo, died. Her dad and I did everything we could to shield and protect her. So much so that we tried to purchase a fish that looked almost identical to Pinky Poo. We put the imposter in the fish tank, a few flakes of food, and immediately flushed the original one down the toilet. Surely we could not let her know what really happened. Well, about 2 or 3 days later, our daughter came downstairs screaming, that's not Pinky Poo. That's not her at all, Mommy and Daddy. Immediately, we thought, how the heck could she tell? We were getting punked, right? She commenced to taking the fish out and looked at it and said, look, nope, this is definitely not Pinky Poo, and plopped the fish back into the bowl. About 4 hours later, that fish died as well, and we refused to get a replacement. It was time for her to learn about the circle of life. When she came home from school, we sat her down and told her about different ways. We tried to think of different ways to talk to her and let her know what to do when we're sad or unhappy. She listened attentively, but batting her beautiful brown eyes. And when we finished, our son looked at her, I looked at her dad looked at us, And we all just stand in anticipation of what she would say. This doll asked us if the fake Pinky Pooh died and if the real one did it in heaven. No tears, not one drop. She shrugged her little shoulders and went upstairs. Then we heard a flush. And then her TV came on. Perplexed was an understatement. We expected a pomp and circumstance of tears and fully fledged lamenting. Ironically, she requested to have a service for the fish. We found out that the flush was his water, and in the ring box on her dresser was a corpse of the fake Pinky Pooh. This was the most drama-filled service ever. She came downstairs wailing and fully garbed in black. She had a black veil over her face, and our son came downstairs wearing a suit with a Bible in his hand. The long and short, we buried Pinky Pooh in front of the yard, and that was my daughter's first taste of heartbreak. She was able to handle the loss of 2 cats and a dog like a responsible young lady, and I'm glad that she had the chance to learn early. So here's the situation, right? Today, for some reason, she had a very, very hard time processing the fact that Nipsey passed away. It was very difficult for her because that cat was like her baby. She treated this cat as though it was a real human being. This cat was in her arms all day and all night. So it was very difficult for her when the kitten passed away. But because of the lessons that we instilled in her, she handled it a little bit better. But had we not, in this book, when they talk about handling disappointments, it gives you a blueprint that your child can take in the event that they lose a friend, a loved one, a pet, a job, whatever, right? Handling disappointments is not just for kids. Handling disappointment and heartbreak is for adults also. So when you're reading this to your children, understand that you may be healing as well. Because once again, and it says it in the first paragraph, we all, I didn't say some of us, I didn't say just females, I didn't say just males, I didn't say one culture, race, or creed. I said we all have endured some form of heartbreak, loss, or disappointment in life. And we basically have to figure out, how do we handle it appropriately? How do we handle it in absence of drugs, alcohol, and self-defeating behavior? If you cannot handle disappointment like a boss, it's very likely that you'll end up picking up something to fill that void. And that something doesn't necessarily have to be drugs and alcohol. That something can be people. That something could be shopping. That something can be sex. That something can be anything. But we want to make sure that your child knows what to do and how to do it, okay? Again, if you're just joining me, thank you so much. Please share this out. This is the 10 days of Christmas. We are talking about prerequisite to adulting and how this book should be in the hands of as many young people as you possibly can. I'm actually looking to team up with about 5 people, and my goal is to get this book in 100 inner city kids' hands at no cost to them. Which means I'm going to need about 10 people to donate a book. And all they have to do is go to Amazon and search up Prerequisite to Adulting 101. And as they do that, they'd be able to donate this. Hey, Glamour Queen for God, how are you, beautiful? They should be able to donate the book, have it sent to the school that I'm going to tell them to, and that the guidance counselors will know exactly who will get the book. So I will not give you the scholar's name, right? Instead, what I'll do is give you the school that it's going to, and then I'll say this is for scholar 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? And that scholar will be specifically given a number so that the guidance counselor, when they get the book, they know who to give it to, okay? So that was a chapter on disappointment. Again, if you do not know how to handle disappointment, it is going to be extremely difficult for you or your children to do so. The next thing I want to talk about with this book, okay, is every child's not destined for college, right? And I'm talking about that because guess what time it is, guys? It is time that people are on Facebook and they are posting the schools that their children and their grandchildren and their nieces, nephews, and everyone else. So thank you so much. And that's right. And God's going to bless the gifties also. Those who donate will be blessed. And because I operate a nonprofit, I can give you a receipt for this and there'll be a write-off. So you will be basically giving a book to a child at no cost to you.